Hey, welcome back to 3-Day RV. If you're new here, I'm Keith. We do DIY videos on travel trailers, and this week's video is no different. We're going to be talking about seals and bearings, specifically on the axles. And so we've got about 15,000 miles and the service is due already. We're going to take our wheel bearings out, clean them, replace the seals, and then we'll show you how to repack them, put them in, and adjust the brakes. So hang right on, we'll be right back. So when you go to do the maintenance, there's a lot of opinions out there how often you do them. And I've been in the general rule here. I think you can go a couple years. If you don't travel a lot, you might go a little bit further, but we got burnt by that one time. And so this is a 2022, and we're going to take this completely apart, clean it up, show you how it's done. And just want a couple safety things when you do this work. You want to jack up the axle here, but you want to break them loose first and jack up your axle. Then you can remove the tire and then put a jack stand under it for safety, because it will be off the ground about a half hour or 45 minutes when you get the hang of it. But we're only going to show you one because it's pretty self-explanatory after the first. So we're going to get some stuff out and get cracking at it.
This is a 2022 model, and we bought it in 2023 from Campers Inn down there in South Carolina. One of the criteria is we bought it used and the wheel bearings were serviced. So that's why I'm at the 15,000 mile mark.
Only need to get it off the ground high enough to get the wheel off. So, something else to watch out for. When we go to put this all back together, you want the wheel on so we can set the brake. Now, off camera, I've already backed my brakes off. I crawled down on the back side, and rather than bore you, I'll show you how we set the brake tension back up on the adjuster. The adjuster's down below, and there's a little access panel where you can get in and click these back up. But it only takes a little bit of backing the brake adjuster back so that the caliper where the brake pads are will be closer together, and it'll allow you to slide this drum off when we get to it. So we'll show you that at the end of the video, how to set the brakes. Right, a couple years ago, we did the MORryde 3000 upgrade, and that included it's got the equalizer on it. We put new leaf springs on. These are the aftermarket leaf springs. I can't remember the part number off the top of my head. They come from Dexter. They're the next spring up. Physically, they look the same, but I believe they have just a little bit better metallurgy. It's a better spring. And I think the springs were like $70 a piece. So anyway, these are the equalizer shafts that run across in 3 points. They go all the way across. You can see it going under there. And what that does is it ties this rear suspension gets tied together. And having done that, you can get a lot of miles out of a set of tires now and have pretty even wear, and that's what we're noticing. That's what that equalizer does. Now the camper pulls better. The axles seem to be aligned now. They seem to be straight. My tire wear's gone down, so this upgrade was well worth it. And we got links in our MORryde upgrade suspension video. There's links to how to get to this with all the part numbers of everything that we used, including the wet bolts, the springs, the equalizer, and the bars that go across it. So anyway, let's get back to this. Oh, and by the way, if you're no good at doing these wheel bearings, call MORryde. If you're in a South Bend area and you find out how close Elkhart is, Elkhart, Indiana, the RV capital of the world, MORryde has a complete service center. They do all kinds of things there, including wheel bearings and brakes. If I grease this Zerk fitting, all I'm doing is pushing the grease from the very back bearing. It's going to push that grease this way, and I'm going to take more of this black stuff and run it through this bearing that's on the outer side. And that's bad because it's just going to make that bearing fail sooner. I love the idea of being able to perhaps do a little maintenance and grease it that way, but in reality, you'd have to use about an entire tube of grease to get clean grease to come out the front. So you'd have to keep spinning it and keep pumping. You'll shove the new grease out eventually, But you also, the purpose of doing these wheels is so that you can also see if your seal is bad. Seals don't last forever, but you want to inspect your brakes because sometimes you could, have some abnormal wear on your brakes, or it's time to put new brake shoes on. So it's important you take the opportunity to open this up and see what's going on. It's just a little spring that goes through, right? So we'll set him aside. I'll have to clean him up. This nut, this should go on. When you go to take this off, this nut should come off very, very easy. These the only time you tighten this nut up is when you're putting the assembly back together, and you'll roll that tire around a few times. After you get this nut torqued down, then you want to back off a quarter turn, because this type of Timken tapered bearing is supposed to have a little bit of play in it. And that's just the way it's always been. Those of you that are my age, you probably remember these type of bearings were quite popular when we were kids. The front ends on the American-made trucks and cars had these type of Timken tapered bearings on them. But let me know in the description. I'm doing something you think could be done easier. This channel is about learning, so if there's something that you don't like what I'm doing, be sure to let me know. I am not an expert at any of this. As you can see, that was red grease. That was red grease at one time. So this is the washer. You guys see that? That is nasty. And that just means that there's a little normal wear on the bearing. You get a little moisture in there, a little dirt. Completely normal. Now, if you don't loosen up that brake adjuster, there's a good chance you're not going to get this drum off. But this is the shot I wanted to show you. See, she's really dirty, right? And the odds of me being able to take this bearing and shoving some new grease in it and making it last so it's not broke down on the side of the highway, like in Tennessee, which happened to me, it's best just to take it apart. We're going to wipe it all off. I got some brake cleaner that I'm going to clean this thing all out with. It'll be easy peasy, actually. So set that bearing and these parts off to the side. This drum will come off here. Now, should tell you in full disclosure, they don't always slip right off. So if you get behind here and back the adjuster in so that the brake shoes collapse so they go toward the middle, then she'll pull off like that. You do you. If you want to fight it, then I would say you just go ahead and you're going to lose your religion banging on that. And then there's our seal beneath there. See how dirty that is? Now what'll happen is the seal on this thing will get hot, and then the rubber's not as flexible as it once was, and what'll happen is you'll get little cracks. The rubber will harden up and it doesn't ride on the shaft quite as nice as it should. That's the seal surface right there. You'll get dirt and specifically brake dust inside of here. That brake dust is what turns a lot of that assembly black in there. So then we use a little brake clean and we clean this out. But take that as an opportunity to inspect your linings. You can see here, the next time I do any wheel bearing service, this is going to need new shoes. I'm getting down. I have probably a little more than a 1/4 inch now. So that's a good thing to know, because the next time I'll have these parts. And it's easier to change this whole assembly than it is just to deal with the brakes, because you also wear this magnet out. How that works is this magnet, when you hit the brakes, this magnet pops out and rubs against this surface and creates drag. And as this thing moves back, because the wheel's spinning this way, right? As this moves back, it shoves these pads out. So the pads move, they spread apart. That's what puts your brakes on. All right, time to do a little cleaning. That's a good time to do a little cleanup. And there's the local train. Sorry about that noise. Never fails. Well, there are a number of different ways you can clean these wheel bearings up. One of them could be diesel fuel. There's people that use diesel fuel and gas to clean these up. We're not going to do that. We're going to use some brake clean. We're going to do our best to wipe them clean. We get all the dirty stuff we can get off and out of the little cracks and crevices here. And then I'm going to blast it out with some brake cleaner, a couple of rags, and some brake cleaner. You definitely want to use the safe brake cleaner if you can. There's different ones that are flammable, some that are not. So you want to get the one that's, this one says 10% VOC formula, so it's a little bit safer to use. But there's nothing pretty about it. We're going to blast this thing. We're going to go through some cleaner. And we're going to go through a few rags. But if you were standing where I was cleaning these bearings, you'd see that this does a pretty good job of cutting that nasty grease off. That's part of the reason why I keep a rag in the trash can right there. You will see the gunk pour out of these. Clean up pretty good. I haven't had to buy a set in a few years. Not with this camper, our old one we did. That cleans up pretty good. So we're just going to set this aside and let it kind of dry up while we're cleaning on the drum. Now you can get these seals at quite a few automotive places. They're going to ask you dimensions. All RV places will have it. Tractor Supply, Quality Farm and Fleet. Since I knew the number of these, I got them on Amazon. If I think about it, I'll get the link to them on Amazon, put them in the description. Now, this is the fun part. Of course, I'm exaggerating. They have a pretty cool tool you can buy out there. And that tool is for popping seals out. And I don't have it. We'll keep here. I have an old brake tool. It's got a hook. Works just as good. If you got the brake tool, you won't need it. I'll show you how to use that. And if I get it in the right spot, it's not too bad. There's the old nasty seal. Now remember what I told you about that grease. Look at how nasty that grease is, right? You would not want to be running that around your bearing, right? If I hit the grease gun and push grease into this, it'd move a lot of this back that front bearing and kill it. So now here comes the other. This is the back bearing. You see how dirty she is? That's why you pull these apart. So we'll clean this one up with some brake cleaner like the other one. You don't want to mix these up. So the front bearing has to go on the side with the castle nut, and the back bearing's got to go back in here. So time to do a little cleanup. So when you get your bearings all cleaned up, you want to go around the surface here, and you want to look for like hot metal, or it'll have like a rusty look. Any indication of heat or scoring. If you have any purpleness to it at all, that means the bearing's been too hot, and those should be replaced. If you see any scoring in there, that means there's some kind of granular sand, dirt, dust, something got in it. Okay, now the dirty part. And this is my least favorite part, digging out that grease. There's no way around it. There's no good way of doing it. You just got to get in there and scoop it up. Look at how nasty black that is, huh? You're going to get dirt in that bearing. I don't care how lucky you are. You can see all this dust right here right now. So
We got to get rid of that brake dust. The other reason for cleaning this up before you put her back together is there's going to be some oil and residue from your hands that end up on the brake assembly where the magnet rubs. That oil will reduce the friction. And one more wipe down on the bearing surface. So just a couple minutes ago, we cleaned those bearings out. You guys got to see all that good stuff. This is an Amazon bearing packer. You can get these on different auto parts stores. I use red grease, the red and tacky version of it. So you can get this at any quality part store. This is nothing more than a little cover. The cover is for keeping the tool clean. This threads out, shaped like the bearing, right? And you will preload some grease in here. As you can see, I have that preloaded. You want to have your hands fairly clean again. So we're going to pack this bearing and drop her back down inside there. So there's different ways to do this, but the cone is intended to go down. So you just drop it in the hole. You screw this down so it's finger tight. Now, here's the part that I would love to show you, but I'm not so sure that this is going to show up to where you can see it, but I'll try. If you can see the edge of the bearing in there, there's no grease on it, but when I mash down in this, it's going to force grease up through the cage of the bearing. So we'll see grease squirting out. Now, the trouble is you got to put quite a bit of force on it. And you can actually hear a squishing sound. Right now, nothing came through it, but it's loading. You can feel it. Just hold force. There we go. Now, I don't know if that's showing up, but you can see the bearing all around the top now. So what this does is it just injects the grease around that squirrel cage. So now if we look at this now, the extra grease that you'll get in places, yeah, pack it in there. It won't hurt anything. Remember, you're going to button this up, and it's going to see all them bumpy roads and mud holes and all that good stuff. Yeah, that thing is, the bearing packer works good, man. It's loaded down with grease. It's really loaded down good. Okay, we're going to set that off to the side for just a minute. We're going to go and put a little bit of grease manually behind this bearing. Well, it's not a totally dry chamber. And you will go through, doing it this way, you'll go through about a tube per axle by the time it's all said and done. Okay. So now that bearing is ready to just be set right down in that bearing race. Yeah, you can see that grease packed all around there nicely. So this is the part that would be a heck of a lot better if I had a bearing press. I don't, but this is the way you'd end up doing if you were on the side of the road. You'd be on a tailgate or something. So I got my seal. I got it all cleaned up. I'm going to kind of get my seal setting semi-straight if I can. I did put a little piece of paper towel in here so no chips or dust or anything go in here because I'm going to lightly tap this seal in place, okay? So yeah, I've got an old flea market socket I've had for a long time. I think it was $5, but it's the perfect size of the seal. It says 2-inch China. And so the seal's nice and flush as it should be. And we pull this out so there's no debris that lands in there, because it will. Murphy's Law, you'll get that all cleaned up and that'll happen. So we're going to put one more little spot of grease between the seal and the bearing. So this part's ready to go back on the rig. We've got our other bearing is all cleaned up. It's already greased and it's good to go. So now it's time to slide everything back together. Oh yeah, one last thing. Make sure that these bad boys are clean before you get there. Cleanliness is everything when it comes to wheel bearings. So if you remember at the beginning of the video, we talked about the Zerk fitting only greasing the back bearing, and I'll show you why. There's a little hole here and a hole on the other side. It's called a pilot hole. And if I go to grease this right now, I get grease out around that edge and around this edge. And the problem with that is that's the only place that gets grease. And remember, I mentioned that it shoves all that dirty grease from the back bearing where the seal is. This is the bad end of this thing. So I wanted to purge that out to make sure that that was clean before we stick the rotor on there, or the drum. So we'll snug this up and we'll turn this, and all we're doing is making sure that that bearing, both bearings and races, are seated. And then we're going to back this off. Yeah, that's tight. See, that would build up a lot of heat that way because the bearing doesn't have room to move. But I think we're good with that bearing. Yep, that's tight. I don't have any play. So now we're just going to back this up. I think that's going to be very close. Excuse me. This thing is kind of timed so that this keeper stays on there. Okay, that's a castle nut lock. And it's going to hold it right there. The nut's not, that nut, it should be free like this. That way this drum can have a little play in and out. Okay, we are underneath here. I'm going to show you how to adjust one of the brakes. And it's not difficult, but it's definitely got something that you want to know what you're doing. So this direction here is forward, okay? Now I read somewhere that these are supposed to be auto adjusting brakes. If you can look in there, and I'll try to zoom here for you, there's a little star looking gear. And as you turn this, it pushes those brakes further apart, okay? So when I roll this, you can barely hear my magnet and those brake pads in there, okay? And I just want to give it a few clicks so I don't hear any clicking now. Okay, that's 3. Here I got just a tiny little bit of drag in there. This gear doesn't move a lot. That's a little better. Probably only went one turn. There we go. Can you hear the difference? She's pretty close there. There we go. Yep, and that'll wear right in. So we got good grabbing brakes right there.
All right, that's how you set them up. Well, that's it. That's all you have to do to service your wheel bearings. Not a big deal. It's not for everybody, of course, but if you can do it yourself, you can save your quite a bit of money. It could be as much as, I don't know, $250 an axle if you take it into a trailer place. So for $12 per axle for seals, a tube of grease, which is about $7. You know, this is one of those things you can DIY, but it does take time. It takes lots of paper towels and some cleaner and a little bit of know-how. Once you get it done, you'll be glad you did that. So that's it for this week's video. Thank you very much for watching. We'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like and subscribe button so that this will get out to other people that might be interested in doing some DIY projects themselves. The more people that let us know these are the types of videos they like, the more I'll keep doing. If it helps you out, then that's good. That's what we want to do. So if you do your own bearings or not, let me know in the comments. Tell me when you take yours in to get them done, or what are you paying for them? Are they super expensive? Have you ever lost one going down the road? We have. So we appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.